Apologies if you hear some random tannoy noise. There seems to be an event on the fields behind us, and I keep hearing a chap talking. But what I've been working on for the last few days is, first of all, a picking system, so I can pick per pixel colour. Very simple. Renders to a back buffer, and I can then just pick the pixel that's done. This is only the OpenGL implementation right now. In fact, I don't need this in there anymore. Clears it to black, draws the whole scene. If they've got picking as an entity type, they're the picking colour, otherwise they're just black. Debug tracing is it's controlled by a flag, so it only does it when we click it. But this isn't even what I want to show you. What I was hoping to show was the new random island system. So this is the debug trace thing. I need to move all these into my overlay, so I can open an overlay like this, and then you can close it off. These aren't currently overlays. So we go backwards. We can move this up and disable it a second. If I click this, we've actually picked that item. Open picking. There's another tiny window there, that's annoying. There's the picking there. Got object 11 is picked. Nothing is picked. Object 11 picked. So I'm obviously able to click the trunk of the tree or the foliage. It sort of works right up to the pixel. Just because these are drawn as shapes, they're not drawn. They're just drawn flat colours, and I just pick from the colour. It's a very simple technique. And if I clicked this, I get a debug trace. But that isn't even what I'm showing you. What I want to show you is that we can generate a scene. So if we delete all islands, and then generate the next island, you'll see it's a very different island if we go back one. So they are all different islands. You'll see how quickly, compared to the last video, they're being generated. If we actually supercycle, let's supercycle a whole bunch of, you'll see the entity component system being exercised here. Now test tree is always object 11 if I actually do the picking. Picking still works in the background. So this is working per frame. This is how quickly I can create and destroy entities. Now obviously they're just instantly appearing. They aren't being faded in or out, which is something I want to do. But the idea is you approach these at distance, so the entity would be created far off in the distance, and you'd sort of come over to it as you travel through the game world. So let's just stop the super cycle where we're at. I don't. It'd be good if I actually put which seed we were at. So the super cycle is a different section to this. If I do this, we go back to the original one. I know exactly what number it is. It's that one. So there is back to the default island again. And you see island number 9 there has been used. So it's reusing the entity ID. What's happening is that very quickly the island is destroyed, and then in the next frame the island is recreated, but it's reusing entity handle 9, so it's just sort of making this flicker because they're sorted by entity ID. If I sorted them by name, it'd be even worse because they'd all juggle around. But you can see this is a new unique object. It's the 409th unique object. So unique objects are in this game session. How unique has this been seen? You know, is this a brand new bullet or missile or whatever ship? Whereas the entity ID is just the current ID in this session. Now the reason for this difference is how we're going to do network replication. The current local handle doesn't really matter, but you link it to this global handle, and whoever is sort of the master for the session, be that a server or your local game, lets you pick these objects and store them and restore the state and all that kind of stuff. In fact, if we, just to make it a bit less annoying, delete the tree. So that's as simple as that. Look, the tree is gone, the entity is gone. That's the power of entity component systems to me. We see we're going through stuff, and if I decrease the cycle time, I think the cycle time has to at least be 1 frame, otherwise this would do multiple islands per frame, which would mean you'd miss visibly seeing a bunch of them. So it might skip over 6. So in this situation, if it waits 1 millisecond and a frame's taking 33 milliseconds, it would count 33 islands past and then display you the next one. So you'd see the 34th island. You see what I mean? You wouldn't see island 0 to 32. Yeah, you see the blankness. That's because it's faster than the frame rate. Oh, what's happened there? Let's have a look. What crashed? Yeah, I've given myself a wonderful error there. I suspect a fishy. Creation descriptor. Oh, I know what's happened. I bet you I'm out of graphics memory because, yeah, I've got a known bug. That's fine. So when these island meshes are created, they're kept. There's meant to be maybe 100 island meshes total, which is about 50 meg. Creating hundreds and thousands of them, which you've just seen me do, has left all those meshes in being. They only clear down at the end of the game. I'm going to look at that next, the actual island mesh caching system. So what I've got is a system that creates island masses, the island generation system. And what I need to do is when this receives an island request, it actually creates islands based on their component type. What I need to do, first of all, I need to make this configurable. These are the bands of colour on islands. What I actually need to do is make these be destroyed when these components are, at the moment the entity is destroyed, but the component isn't until the component is reused, but that component won't be reused because there's still lots and lots of stuff happening. What I need is a custom teardown of a component being created. So this component here, this is the component being created. They get created, look, and put into the manager. What I need to say to the manager is, hey, there are no references to that resource anymore. You're at 0 ref count. Clear that mesh out. This is a known issue, so it's the next thing I'm working on. But it's an interesting thing to show you. Bye-bye.